Hello. Hello everyone. Welcome to our May 2019 Accessibility webinar. My name is Veta and I work as a software engineer in Azure networking team. As a person with profound hearing loss, my passion is creating awareness and building technology to make the auditory world inclusive for people who are deaf or hard of hearing. Today, we'll be talking about a topic that's very close to my heart. Stay tuned.
Thank you. And I'm Crystal. I work on our Microsoft Disability Answer Desk. We are your moderators for today's webinar. Our mission at Microsoft is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. Our customers have been asking for training on the accessibility features in our product, and I can't think of any better way for us to empower our customers than to do what we've been doing for the last few months, which is to start a monthly webinar series, just like this one today, where we're talking specifically about the accessibility features in our product and hopefully encouraging you to give us feedback.
Before we get too far into the webinar, we want to call out some information about the caption. Please visit this site aka.ms/webinar caption. Today's webinar will be recorded and will be about an hour long with the last 15 minutes dedicated to question and answers. Soon after the event, a recording will be available for viewing. Alright, so today we have Tatwa from Office Product Group who will demonstrate the new live captions and subtitles feature in PowerPoint.
Thank you, Swetha. That sounds like a really great topic. Again, to get the captions, you can go to aka.ms/webinar captions. Our presenter today, Joshua, is also going to be talking from a PowerPoint slide deck. So if you would like to access that slide deck, you can also get that at aka.ms/webinar slides. During the course of the webinar, I'm really hoping you guys are going to have a lot of questions for Joshua. You can send those to accwebinars@microsoft.com, or you can also tweet those at MSFTenable. Just be sure to add the hashtag accessibilitywebinar. Now, let me go ahead and turn it over to Joshua.
Okay, thank you very much, Crystal and Swetha. So my name is Joshua Segrin, and as they mentioned, I'm a program manager on the Microsoft 365 global team, where our mission is really to empower every person to be able to communicate, consume, collaborate, and participate in their preferred language. And so I couldn't really think of a better topic to talk to you about today than presenting more inclusively with the new live captions and subtitles feature in PowerPoint. This is a new feature that we're bringing in as a built-in feature in PowerPoint, and it's just rolling out starting this week, and it will be available for the general audience over the next few weeks. So to get started and just to give you an overview of what I'm going to be talking about, so part of this will be a walkthrough of the live captions and subtitles feature in PowerPoint. I'm also going to give you some tips on how you can make your presentations more inclusive beyond using this feature. And I'll give an overview of some of the related captioning, subtitling, and translation capabilities that are available across Office 365. And then we'll conclude with a Q&A. So my journey in this space really started about a year and a half ago when I had the unique opportunity to accompany Will Lewis, who's a program manager on the Microsoft Translator team, during one of his visits to the Rochester Institute of Technology, RIT. Specifically, he was meeting with some folks at the National Technical Institute for the Deaf, which is one of the 9 colleges at RIT that is specifically focused on providing a great education for deaf or hard of hearing students. And so they had been working with Microsoft to pilot live captioning being used to cover their various lectures. To simply keep up with the increasing demand, they simply didn't have enough resources to provide captioning and interpretation services for all of the courses where there was demand from students. And so they thought partnering with Microsoft translator team to use the live captions in the classroom. So I accompanied him on this trip and got to observe one of the evolutionary biology classes taught by Professor Sandra Connolly. To be honest, I was super skeptical. While I had worked with some machine translation related technology, I didn't have a background in speech recognition, and I was used to, speech recognition from 10 years ago where every other word that you said would be wrong. And I thought there was no way that this was going to be viable in the classroom. But I was completely wrong, and seeing what I saw there with the presentation translator add-in being used in these lectures really opened my eyes. Not only was it effective in picking up key vocabulary and being used by students who had a hearing disability, but we did an impromptu survey at the end of that class. We actually asked everyone if they found the captions, if anyone found the captions distracting. Not a single person raised their hand. In fact, it was to the contrary. When one of the students who is deaf dropped the class, the rest of the students petitioned to keep the captions running in the classes because they were useful when students are taking notes or multitasking, or if they missed something that Sandra had said, or if they simply wanted to refer back to the last few seconds of what was talked about. Let's say you're sitting at the back of the room and you have a hard time hearing. So these are the types of situational and temporary disabilities that we all experience. And so for me, this truly crystallized the principle of inclusive design that we're striving for as a culture and to be infused in our products across Microsoft, which is if we can design experiences that work for someone with a disability, then we end up with designs that benefit everybody broadly. And so that was a perfect example. I was able to go back to the team at Microsoft, and we were already working on capabilities to break language barriers. And so breaking a hearing barrier, very, very much related to the language space, was a perfect next step in that direction. And so fast forward a year and a half later, we're super excited to be rolling out live captions and subtitles now as a built-in feature in PowerPoint. So we've really come a long way since then. So I'm actually going to get started with the feature now just to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So right from slideshow view in the bottom corner here, I can just click a single button. And now everything that I'm saying is going to be transcribed in real time, just like that. Very easy to get going. To talk about the scenarios a little bit in more detail, so there's really two scenarios that we're talking about. One is live captions, which of course is the transcription in the same language. And this is primarily for audience members who might be deaf or hard of hearing. But another really key segment that would benefit from something like this would be anyone who's not native in the language of the presentation. I have friends who watch movies and TV with the closed captions turned on because for them, English isn't a first language. And so they're using the captions as kind of this multimodal way of getting information and understanding the content. So, folks who are not native in the presentation language or who may be experiencing the situational or temporary hearing limitations, such as if it's a noisy environment or they're sitting at a distance, all of these folks can benefit from having the live captions running during the presentation. And the other scenario is live subtitles, which is really the next step. It's the translated real-time transcription that is also translated into another language. And so if someone were to invite me to give a talk in Japan, for example, and I would certainly be excited to go and do that. But my Japanese skills are pretty limited, actually, basically zero. So I would have to use something like this, live subtitles from English voice to Japanese subtitle text, and that would enable me to reach a broader audience as well. So live subtitles is really, again, a real-time transcription that is translated into another language to support audience members who might be limited, lower, or not at all proficient in the language being spoken. So you can imagine various combinations of languages. And so on that point, in terms of availability, the feature supports, you will pick one of 12 different languages that you'll be speaking. So there are 12 languages supported for the voice input, but you can show the subtitle text in more than 60 different languages. So there's quite a number of combinations there. And this is something you'll be able to present with from any laptop or desktop device if you have an Office 365 subscription, whether that's a personal subscription or a business one. This will be available on PowerPoint for Windows 10, PowerPoint for Mac, and PowerPoint Online for most of the popular browsers, including Edge, Firefox, or Chrome. I'll call out that it's not available for Safari quite yet. But it also means you would be able to present with live captions or subtitles from even a Chromebook, for example. And as I mentioned, this feature is just rolling out now. It is available for the insiders audience and has been for the past few weeks. And now we're just rolling it out to the general audience, and that's going to take over the next few weeks. And so some people might be getting the feature sooner than others, but really everybody should have the feature over the course of the next few weeks. I will mention that in organizations, especially like the commercial side, for PowerPoint Desktop, many organizations are on a deferred channel, and so they're not picking up monthly updates. So just like any other features that come to Office, they'll be available first for customers on the monthly channel. In terms of more availability and detailed information on that, you can go to aka.ms/PowerPoint Live Captions. And I'll just give you a little bit of a picture of the journey that we went on to bring this into PowerPoint. So it really started in May 2017 when the PowerPoint Presentation Translator add-in was first demoed by the VP of the AI and Research Organization, Harry Shum, at Microsoft Build Conference. And since then, there's been tremendous enthusiasm from especially the education community. And as I mentioned, the pilot partnership with RIT has been a tremendous source of learning. Everything from design details and things that really make the experience viable and work well in classroom environments, such as making sure the caption text is in a separate dedicated space away from the slide content, because it turns out a lot of people still put tons of text and information and data on their slides, and we wouldn't want the captions to occlude any key information and prevent anyone from getting all of the information from the content. As well, the other key learning is, turns out a lot of presentations are given with pretty technical subject matter, even 6th grade, 7th grade biology class, which I'll kind of show a little demo of later, can have some really complicated words that don't really appear in our general everyday vocabulary. And for the most part, speech recognition engines don't do well for these kinds of words. And so a key learning is that by adapting to the content of the presentation itself, we can better recognize terminology, jargons, names, and really ensure that there's accurate information available for someone who's relying on the captions or subtitles. So we've taken all of these learnings. On top of that, there have been some huge advances on the AI side, including breakthroughs in research that are approaching human parity for both speech recognition and machine translation from Microsoft. And combine that with our goal, which was to have a really simple, integrated, clean, easy-to-use experience built right into the product. And so now today, as of this week, as I mentioned, this is rolling out as a built-in feature. It's no longer an add-in. It's no longer something folks have to go and discover and install and add into their apps, but it's really available by default so that presentations can be inclusive by default. And we're really looking forward to the next stage on this journey where we can use amazing AI technology to break even more communication barriers and make presentations inclusive. So I'll give you a little bit more in-depth demo now right from this PowerPoint build that I'm running on my Surface Book. So let's say I wanted to try out the English to Spanish subtitling example. I can actually do this by going to the Slideshow tab in the ribbon. So I'm going to exit Slideshow here. I'm in the Slideshow tab on the ribbon. And there's this new group called Captions and Subtitles. The first setting here is to, if I check this, now every time I enter Slideshow, the captions or subtitles will automatically start running. I'm going to leave that unchecked for now. In this next button here, the Subtitle Settings, this is really where I can adjust all of the preferences that I mentioned. So here I'm going to specify which language I'm speaking. Of course, by default, this will be my office language, in which case English United States. And now, as I mentioned, I'll switch the subtitle language independently of which language I'm speaking to Spanish. And so this will be the live subtitles example. And you'll notice there are a few other options here. So I can confirm that the right microphone is being used, because one common, fairly common pitfall is if the wrong microphone is being used, then you can run into all kinds of awkward situations. So you can make sure that the right microphone that you want to use is being selected here. The other key preference is, how do you want the subtitles to appear on the presentation? The first two options are what we call overlay mode, which is very much like the design of captions for TV, movies, or online videos, where it's a layer of text on top of the content itself. And that works well if you don't have a lot of text on your slides. But if you do have a lot of text on your slides, then you would want to use either below slide or above slide, which is what we call kind of a docked mode. So I'm going to keep it on above slide. And you'll notice there's one other set of preferences here called More Settings. And on Windows, this brings me to the Windows 10 closed caption preferences that apply across the OS and are used and respected by different applications. This is where I can configure what color I want, what the size of the text should be, what the transparency of the background should be, everything I need to adjust the appearance so that I can best accommodate whatever audience or environment I'm presenting in. I'm going to leave those alone for now, and then just jump right back into Slideshow and turn on subtitles again. And since I've set the subtitle language into Spanish, you'll now see the real-time translation from English to Spanish. So now I can go present in a bunch of new countries, or to present to folks who are not native in English, for example. And just a few more tips to really get the best experience from this feature. I have some tips here on this slide. So, and you can get more information at aka.ms/PowerPoint live captions. One thing I'll mention is it's really important to make sure you're using the right microphone for the right environment. And we have actually recommended devices right on that support article at aka.ms/PowerPoint live captions. If you're presenting in a classroom, for example, you could use a headset microphone. If you're in a meeting room, any of the conferencing microphones that are also Teams or Skype certified will work well. So again, we have some recommended devices. If you do use your built-in laptop microphone, because it's the thing you always have, it's probably the easiest to get going with. One tip would be to try to stay in front of your machine and not pace around too much, but kind of minimize the variables so the speech recognition will give you the most accurate transcription. And try to avoid background noise as well and speak clearly as you can. I'll also mention there is something we call a voice UI, which is really like a health indicator that shows up in the bottom corner of the screen. As I start the feature, and another entry point that I didn't mention yet is the shortcut key, which is you can simply press the J button, and that's going to toggle on and off the feature. In the bottom corner, you could see the listening indicator, which is really to help you as a presenter know whether the feature is running well or what adjustments you might need to make. So if it detects that the network quality or audio quality is degrading over the course of your presentation, or you may not get the best experience because of network or audio issues, it may surface a warning, and you can kind of use that to make adjustments. Now, I'm going to switch over to give a demo in PowerPoint Online to really show that it's a consistent experience across platforms, and it's available wherever you're presenting. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the browser. And here I have this Oceans deck. And in PowerPoint Online, there's a slight difference, which is the settings are available from the View tab in the ribbon instead of from a Slideshow tab, because there is no Slideshow tab. So it's in this section. And there's a drop down here, and again, I can choose which language am I speaking, which language do I want the subtitles to appear in, as well as the position of where the subtitles should show up. And so I'm just going to give you a quick demo to demonstrate how this works. And again, to toggle on the feature, it's in the Slideshow Actions menu in the bottom corner of the screen. Just a single click of a button, and everything is going to start working. So I can just continue presenting naturally, and everything I'm saying is being transcribed in real time. And now we're actually going to switch over and show a demo of the same feature being used in PowerPoint for Mac. Here we're showing the same feature in PowerPoint for Mac. As you can see, again, we can toggle the subtitles directly from Slideshow or from Presenter View. So this is a consistent experience between the three platforms. On Mac, you can adjust the settings right from the ribbon. And this caption preferences will bring us to the Mac OS closed captioning preferences, where there are already preset categories for some of these styles. Okay, awesome. So we just showed how the feature works on PowerPoint for Windows 10, PowerPoint Online, as well as PowerPoint for Mac. And it's a very consistent experience available wherever you're presenting on those apps. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about how this works to try to demystify it a little bit and kind of explain what's going on behind the scenes, if hopefully folks find that interesting. So one key note is that the slide content is actually automatically analyzed, and that's really to provide the better, more accurate recognition of key terminology, names, and jargon in the deck. So in this example, if I listed out a bunch of terms that really appear even in middle school biology class, so nucleotide, nitrogenous base rings, polynucleotide, monomer, glycoproteins, lipoproteins, monosaccharide, or polysaccharide, you're seeing that those are actually being transcribed accurately, whereas many speech recognition engines by default wouldn't get that right. So one of the tips resulting from that would be, if you want to make sure your vocabulary is being transcribed accurately, you can include those either in the slide content itself or in slide notes. And for this to work, all of the audio that's captured from my microphone is being streamed directly to the Microsoft Speech and Translator services. These are really the same services that are used for the Azure AI cognitive services and are available for third-party developers via Azure. And then as the processing happens on the service, the caption and subtitle text is returned and then shown on the screen for your audience. I want to call out that your data is only used to provide the service, and the feature is fully Office 365 compliant, including many industry certifications like SOC and ISO. So it's not something that's just built for personal use or schools. It's also built for enterprise and presenting on very sensitive subject matter. Trust and privacy and security are really key pillars of the Office 365 solution. In terms of what's going on behind the scenes, just to kind of open up the black box a little bit, as the speech goes to the service, the first thing that happens is the automatic speech recognition. And then there's something called true text, which is this kind of processing of the text, and that's providing some additional value like the automatic punctuation, disfluency removal. It's removing ums and ahs and stutters. And all of this is to provide more readable caption-like output. And it will also do things like display formatting. So if I started listing numbers, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or $5,000, those are going to appear as digits on the screen. So that's called display formatting. Again, all of this is to provide the most readable and clear experience for the audience. In the case of doing live subtitles where you're translating across languages, then there's an additional step, which is machine translation from text to text. And the last thing that happens is something called stabilization. This is something we did as a result of feedback. You know, the problem is something like this. If we try to show the captions or subtitles as fast as we possibly can, then what we were finding is that the last word or phrase in the output actually changes around a little bit. And that movement of text, that change in text, causes eye strain, cognitive load. It's a little hard to follow. And so we were getting feedback from users that this was a little hard to read. So we added something called stabilization, which makes sure that we can minimize the amount of churn, the changes to the text that is shown on the screen, and provide a more readable experience. I'm going to give you a few more tips on how you can present more inclusively. So, of course, starting with live captions and subtitles is a great start, but it's also important to make sure that the content itself is accessible. And that's not only to empower audiences, but also collaborators or reviewers or anyone else who's accessing your content. One of the tips would be to ensure that there's high contrast between the text and the background colors behind the text. Another tip is anytime color is used to denote meaning, such as using color as a legend, you want to make sure that color isn't the only signal used to represent that. So you should combine different colors with different shapes as well, so that someone who might have color blindness can still access the same information. Another tip would be to include alternative text for any images, graphics, diagrams, charts in your slides. I'm going to give you a quick demonstration of how Office apps make adding alt text to images and diagrams even easier. So I'm going to go back to this slide. So I have this image of captions being used in a lecture hall. I'm going to right-click the image and click Edit Alt Text. And this is going to open a task pane. And in this case, I didn't have alt text already. And so I can use the power of Office AI to automatically suggest a description of this for me using computer vision. And so that's running, so that's running. And once that finishes, I would actually be able to edit the alternative text and clean it up. But it gives me a great head start, and that is available not just in PowerPoint, but across different Office apps. In general, a great rule of thumb is that you can use the built-in slide layouts or templates, and that's going to ensure the correct reading order so that someone who's accessing the slides with a screen reader, for example, is able to follow the layout of the slide the same way someone who's seeing the slide content would be able to. And you can also use any of the layouts suggested by PowerPoint Designer, which is another AI feature in Office that can make your presentation content more inclusive. And so not only does PowerPoint Designer give you much better looking slides, very, very much professionally designed, but it's understanding the context and what the content in your slide is to suggest layouts that are also going to be inclusive and accessible to screen readers such as narrator or third-party screen readers. So these are just some of the few tips to help you get started. And I'll mention that in the Office apps, if you go to the Review tab in the ribbon, there's this Check Accessibility button. And this is, you can think of this like the spelling or grammar checks that you know and love, but really for accessibility. So this is going to call out any issues, warnings, or suggestions automatically that I can go and fix, including suggested and very easy to make fixes here. Right. Now I'm going to switch over and talk a bit more about the other captioning, subtitling, and translation features that are available across Office 365. So to start with captions and subtitles, of course, we've shown how the feature works in PowerPoint and what scenarios and capabilities are supported. But we haven't really talked about the other experiences. So PowerPoint is really designed and best used when you have a scenario involving a single presenter and you need to have the captions or subtitles in real time. Now, if you have a situation with multiple presenters, or if you have people having a meeting or discussion on different devices, such as a remote meeting, then in that situation, the live captions feature, which is coming to Microsoft Teams in preview very soon, would really be the best experience. And so stay tuned for that. On the consumer side, Skype also has live captions and subtitles, and that's been available for a few months. And so that you can use whenever you're making personal calls between different folks, and each of them can access the captions or subtitles as they wish. For scenarios where you have a huge presentation, like a company all hands or town hall, and you have, say, thousands of attendees and perhaps multiple presenters, then the best solution would be the Microsoft 365 live events, which is the evolution of Skype meetings broadcast. The trade-off there is that it's not exactly real time. There's a slight delay, but it really is used for those large-scale events where you need to provide captioning for all the participants. And so we're talking, thousands of people joined remotely from their own devices, as well as in person. And then for recorded videos, if you have meeting recordings, or say if I recorded a demo video that I want to share with my team, or any other video you can think of that is not, say, a presentation done in real time, I can take that video and upload it into Microsoft Stream. And Stream can automatically create captions for that video so that anyone who's accessing that video later would be able to access the captions on demand. So in this slide, we have kind of a summary, and there are links to how you can get going with those features. We have these slides available at aka.ms/webinar-slides. And I'm going to switch over and show you a demo of how exactly you can get automated captions set up when uploading a video into Stream. And to explain what Stream is for folks who might not know, Stream is really the enterprise video sharing platform where anyone in an organization can upload videos and share them with different folks, whether it's within your team or if you want to make a video available publicly across the organization. So in this case, I'm going to upload a video that I've recorded previously. So I'm going to take the video and just drag and drop it into the Stream upload section. And I can add a description, so say Town Hall, May 2019. I'm going to choose the language. I'm going to confirm that this is indeed, it was recorded and the speakers were speaking English. And this is important because the speech recognition will use what language I set to try to generate the captions automatically. So make sure that this is set correctly. And then the last thing to confirm is under Options, there's a checkbox beside Captions for auto-generate a caption file. And this is going to use speech recognition while the video is being processed in the background. And it will become available in about 2 times the duration of the video. So if the video is about 1 minute long, it might take 2 minutes to create the captions. But anyone who's watching this video later will be able to get those. Now, if I happen to use a professional captioning service for this broadcast or for the video, if I happen to have a web VTT file, which is the standard file format for captions, I can upload them as well instead of having them be automatically generated. So if I had those files, I can upload them here. Similarly, I could upload subtitles in different languages if I had those. In this case, I'm just going to use the auto-generated ones. So the last thing I would do is click Publish. and then that's going to become available real soon. In the interest of time, I'm going to switch over to this, which was previously uploaded. And so now if I'm a user who's accessing this video at a later point in time, I can just click on the captions button, the closed captions, to toggle those on. And those are going to be shown up right here. The beautiful thing about this feature in Stream is that it's not just used for closed captioning while I'm watching the video, but it also enables me to do amazing things like jump to a specific section in the video based on the transcript. So if I remember somebody was saying something, and there was a specific Q&A question, I wanted to jump right to that section of the video, I could search for that in the transcript and then directly navigate to that section of the video, which is pretty cool and very useful. It saves me time. The other thing is you can edit the transcript so that if you see that there's a mistake in the automatic transcription, which certainly happens from time to time, then I can go and make that correction, and now anyone who's accessing this video later would have access to the corrected transcription and captions. So that's just a little bit about how you can use Stream to provide captions for recorded videos and how you can share those with folks in your organization. Another very related topic that I do want to talk about is we've been doing a lot of work to break language barriers in addition to hearing and other access barriers in Office. So language barriers meaning if you're collaborating or working with folks, say in different regions, across countries, across languages, there are various translation capabilities available across Office 365 so that you can really seamlessly work across languages. That includes things like being able to translate entire email messages in Outlook, entire documents in Word, messages in Teams, and really any content that you can read with Immersive Reader, which is, Immersive Reader is a tool that's used to really empower and improve reading skills for users of all different reading abilities. You can actually show any content in Immersive Reader, translate that in real time to more than 60 different languages. We're really excited that one of the things that's rolling out this week as well is built-in intelligent translation, message translation in Outlook on the web. And I'm going to give a demo of that in just a moment. The other scenario is really for folks who are working in a second language. Let's say you recently moved to another country. You might be fairly proficient in the language there, but maybe it's not your native language. And so there are tools in Office to help you get assistance while working in a non-native language. And that includes things like being able to translate words and phrases on the fly from any app. If you say forget the meaning of a given word. So in this example, like I'll just select this text immersive. Let's say I don't know what immersive means. I can just right-click that and translate it into my native language. And so this is going to be a real-time translation of whatever I'm selecting, and it will also show me different context and usage examples and alternative translations to really help me understand the meaning of that. So I'm going to show you the intelligent message translation that we're rolling out this week and over the next few weeks to all Outlook Outlook on the web users, starting with consumer users. So if you have an Outlook.com account, you should get this in the next few weeks. And if you have an Outlook commercial account, part of your Enterprise Office 365 subscription, you should get this probably next month. So I'm just going to open up my inbox here. And I have a friend who's going to be in San Francisco and wants to meet up with me. And they sent me this message in Danish. Unfortunately, I don't speak Danish. And so Outlook here directly offers to translate this into English for me by realizing that this message is in Danish and that I don't understand Danish. So I can just click this with a single button. And right there, immediately, the message has been translated into English, and the formatting is preserved and everything. And I can now go and reply to Megan in my language, and if she's using Outlook on the other side, she could translate the message that I send from English into Danish. So that's really breaking language barriers for a super common communication scenario. And then if there were different folks who are speaking different languages, say on a team, they can all work in their preferred language, which is really the core of what we're enabling here. So this is just a conversation with a few different languages, and with a single click, I can translate all of these different messages directly into English. It's super fast and seamless. And if I understood any of these languages well enough that I didn't need translation, I can directly choose to not translate from those languages. And that's going to be a preference that Office 365 remembers and respects going forward. Now, Word also has some intelligent translation features as well. So in this case, somebody asked me to review a document. It's a subject matter expert that I'm collaborating with from Russia, and so they sent me a Russian document. I don't understand Russian, and so for me to review this, I really need a translation of this document into English. As soon as I open the document, Word realizes that this is a Russian document and that I could use a translation, and so it offers to translate it here. I can click this button and confirm that, yes, I want it to be translated into English. I'm going to click Translate, and now, just like that, there's a translated copy of this document into English with the formatting preserved, with the layout there, and I can review, comment on this, and then send back my friend the reviewed copy of this document. And so, these are just a few of the translation features that are helping to break language barriers and helping to empower everyone to work, consume, collaborate, and participate in their preferred language. And that is really all I have to show. And so we went through quite a few things. We walked through the live captions and subtitles feature in PowerPoint. We talked about how you can make your presentations more inclusive in general. We talked about the different captioning and subtitling features across Office 365 outside of PowerPoint. And we talked about the translation capabilities that are available across Office 365. So we really hope you enjoyed this webinar this month. We're really looking forward to your questions. And if you did enjoy this, please tweet about it. Please tweet with @MSFTEnable. That's @MSFTEnable. And please include the hashtag accessibilitywebinar. And we're really looking forward to hearing from you. And please share the word if you enjoyed this. Thank you so much. And I'm going to pass it back to Sweta and Crystal for the Q&A.
Wow, that's so cool. Thank God for demonstrating this feature. I'm sure people like me would be more excited to feel included in presentation going forward. We'll now answer some questions, so please email them to accwebinars@microsoft.com or reach out to us on Twitter @MSFTEnable and use the hashtag accessibilitywebinar. So, Crystal, do you want to start the first question?
Yes, thank you, Swetha. So we've had a few folks write in with this question, Joshua, asking, they're not finding the feature that you demonstrated in PowerPoint in their version, so they're not seeing it there. Do you know why that might be?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the feature is currently available for PowerPoint on Windows 10, Mac, and online, but only in the insiders audience. So for PowerPoint on desktop or PowerPoint on Mac, if you're in the insiders audience, you will already have the feature. For PowerPoint online, if your organization or tenant is in the first release ring, you will already have the feature. For everyone else in the general audience, you will be getting the feature over the next few weeks. So this is a gradual rollout. We want to make sure that as the feature is rolling out, that the quality stays really high, and so this is going to take a few weeks. But within a few weeks, everybody should have access to the feature if you have an Office 365 subscription. The one kind of asterisk to that is for organizations that are not picking up monthly updates. So many tenants are actually on what are called deferred channels. They will be getting the feature later. But if your tenant or organization is on the monthly channel and are picking up the monthly updates, they should get the feature over the next few weeks. And all of this availability information in detail will be provided at aka.ms/PowerPoint live captions.
So we are curious to know if this feature can be used to create captions for videos.
Yeah, that's a great question. We do see people doing that, and it's definitely supported. It's definitely possible if you're using a screen recorder or sharing your screen during a meeting from any of the conferencing, video conferencing applications, for example. You can present in PowerPoint while running live captions and subtitles and record your screen that way. However, it isn't really the best solution that we have available for you if you want to provide captions or subtitles for recorded videos for someone who's not watching this in real time. The best solution would really be, as I demonstrated with Microsoft Stream, if you record the video, and you can use the recording tools that are built into PowerPoint to create a recorded presentation and even to upload it into Stream directly. And from Stream side, it can automatically create captions. And the benefit of that is a few things. So first of all, the captions would be available for folks who want them on demand. And folks who don't want the captions don't have to watch them. They can turn off the closed caption. Whereas, of course, if you're recording your screen with live captions, then that will be kind of baked into the video itself. The other benefit of using the Stream's captions is it's also a transcript that can be navigated, searched, and you can edit the transcript so that anyone who's watching that video later will have the improved, corrected transcript.
Thanks, Joshua. This next question I'm very interested in, especially for myself. I'm blind, so this is a really interesting question. So I'll ask from my perspective. As somebody who's blind, can I also use this feature to present live captions to be more inclusive?
That's a great question as well. And so at Microsoft, our inclusive design culture and the accessibility rhythms of the teams is such that anything we ship will be accessible from day one. So that is really something we're holding ourselves to. And in the case of live captions and subtitles in PowerPoint, it's no different. So the feature does really support the scenario of someone who's navigating PowerPoint using a screen reader, such as Narrator, being able to access all of the same controls, all of the same preferences, and even access the real-time captions or subtitles by navigating to that element using their screen reader and having the text be read aloud via Narrator in a continuous loop. And that's really to enable scenarios like if I'm a low vision or blind presenter who wants to confirm that the feature is working well for my audience, I can use a screen reader to kind of get things set up and confirm that the captions are coming out correctly. And do that fully independently. So indeed, yes, that is correct. It is supported. There might be some limitations, though, if using a Bluetooth headset, where if you're using the same Bluetooth headset to provide microphone input, and also trying to use that Bluetooth headset to hear the narration itself, there could be some conflicts. And so there are definitely devices that will work better for this scenario. And so make sure you try out the device if you're in that situation.
That's interesting to know. So here's another question. Are live captions and subtitles in PowerPoint free? What are the limitations?
Okay, that's a great question too. Because we're really truly care about making presentations more inclusive and accessible for everyone as part of our core mission statement. And so this feature is available for free with the Office 365 subscription. It does require the Office 365 subscription, either consumer or commercial, home or business subscription. But it isn't an add-on on top of that. So, and there's also really like no usage quota. It's not like you're going to run out of minutes or anything. So, we hope you use this capability when you're giving presentations as you need to. And so the answer is it's free with the subscription, but the subscription itself, of course, is not free.
Thanks, Josh. I have another question here asking, can I use this automatic live captions with multiple presenters?
That's a great question as well. So there are a few ways you can accommodate this scenario of presenting with multiple folks. One way would be to use an external encoder. So if this is like a high production event, and typically there would be an audio video expert crew, they could use an external encoder to mix different microphones, capture from different microphones into a single audio stream, and then feed that directly into the device that's running PowerPoint, and then that will be transcribed by the feature. Of course, that doesn't really work for everyone. That is not necessarily the easiest thing to get up and get going. And so, of course, a very simple, cheap answer would be you can just use a built-in laptop microphone and have different folks take turns kind of standing in front of the device and remaining close to the built-in laptop microphone. And everything they say will just be transcribed. It is important to note that the feature is not going to distinguish who is saying what. So that is something to keep in mind if you have a situation where you have different folks kind of speaking over each other or at the same time. Beyond that, if this is a meeting, for example, or a call between different people on different devices, if you have participants joined remotely, then stay tuned for the live captions feature that will be coming to Teams, Microsoft Teams, which will really be able to support this mixed multiple presenter scenario.
So we have a question from Twitter. Can you give some tips on increasing the accuracy of the caption? Does it look at my slide?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the biggest tip, of course, would be to, if you have any key terminology, vocabulary, names, other important words that you really want to make sure are accurately transcribed, all you have to do is make sure those words are included as text in the slides or in the slide notes. The other thing you can do is actually start the slideshow and start the feature a couple minutes before you need to present to an audience, and that's going to give the service enough time to automatically adapt to the text in the slides. That's really the best tip. There are a few other tips around speaking style, like kind of trying not to speak in extremely long, continuous sections without making pauses. By pausing every once in a while, and hopefully this is on a natural speaking cadence, you'll give the speech service some time to kind of segment and punctuate the output. So that is a tip. It's not something you should be like thinking about. You should just be presenting very naturally. But if you have a relaxed, very clear, and somewhat hyphenated speaking style, that can be a way of getting the best results. And the other thing, of course, would be just use the right microphone for the right environment. And we have some excellent microphone recommendations available at aka.ms/PowerPoint live captions. And any of the Teams or Skype certified microphones would work well.
Thanks, Josh. That's a great tip. We are getting a lot of questions coming in, so we're going to try to get through a few more here before folks have to move on to their next meetings today. I think what would be great is a little clarification on which kind of captions were used today and which kind of captions were actually the automatic captions. So for example, we're providing live captions in a separate browser that's transcribed by an actual person. Where in your presentation were we seeing the automated captions?
Yeah, that's a great question, and hopefully that wasn't too confusing or jarring for folks who were also following the live captions for this webinar itself. The captions and subtitles that were being produced by PowerPoint were the ones that are shown at the top of the screen when we were sharing the PowerPoint slideshow view. So they were the ones really at the top of the screen.
Thanks, Joshua. We have one more question. Will the alternative text in my slides to be translated as well?
I think the question is, will the alternative text in the slides be translated as well? There is a way of doing that. At this time, we don't have a feature in PowerPoint that lets you translate entire presentation slides, but that is definitely something we have heard would be valuable, and so we hope we definitely take that into consideration, and if and when full slide translation feature came to PowerPoint, then I presume the answer would be yes. But at this time, being able to translate the entire presentation content itself isn't a supported feature.
Thank you, Joshua. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for questions today. Thank you so much, Joshua. It was really informative. If we didn't get to your question today, do reach out to the Disability Answer Desk. You can find your contact info at aka.ms/dad, D-A-D. You can also reach out to us on Twitter at MSFTenable. And I'm going to close by just giving you some additional resources. So if you'd like to learn more about the product that Joshua is showing off today, you can go to aka.ms/PowerPoint Live Captions. If you also want to become an Office Insider so you can get those updates faster, you can go to insider.office.com. If you have feedback you want to share with us, we love your feedback. Feel free to visit aka.ms/accessibilityfeedback.
That's all the time we have for today. So thank you all for joining. For our webinar schedule and archive settings, please visit this site aka.ms/accessibility-webinars. After this session, we'll be sending you all a link to a very brief survey, so please take the time to fill it out. Our next webinar is on June 19th, where we will cover narrator and some new features. Hope you all enjoyed this webinar. Thank you all.